But just going through everything that's happened this season, the way it's gone, can you pinpoint maybe one thing that you've seen of what's caused this season to be a disappointment?
Well, it's all of it, right? It's Brandon's holdout, which in many ways was a theme. It wasn't him, but it was Nick and it was Trent, and it was every big name knew that, how do I say this? There was such a desire to be in the Super Bowl. You got to understand that's why I feel so terrible today for this Super Bowl window. I don't know how closed it is or open. We won't know, but just that it's not going to be as open as it was last year. And those guys that are down there that have such a desperation in a positive, in a really, not desperation is the wrong word, but just a longing to win it, to have one, and I just feel for them today because it just got to a distance right now that is super tough. And so you think about what happened this year. It started with people holding out for like maximum dollars, and that's not always the wrong thing. It's not. I'm not going to blame anybody, but it's and then people get hurt, and then there's also, we talked about what we call the Super Bowl hangover, which is just the emotional wherewithal that the team has to have. That's a collective. We talked about it last week, and they were tired. They're emotionally spent from the Super Bowl loss. It was brutal, and they needed some time to gather themselves. They needed September and a lot of October to gather themselves, and they needed to win those tight games in L.A., the tight game against the Cards. They needed to win those games that they should have had. They needed so they could find their foot about a couple weeks ago, like at Thanksgiving time, when all of a sudden I said last week that they're 7-3, and now they've got the emotion for it and the health for it and all the rest of it. And so they needed some things to break their way, and it didn't. And it's a collection of all kinds of things. Because remember, I told you also, the whole league studied the 49ers.
Yeah.
They've been studying Kyle Shanahan for 2 or 3 solid years. They do that with Andy Reid. They do it with Kyle Shanahan. Those are the two guys that everybody studies. And everybody says, not again, not again, not again. And every defensive coordinator in the league saying, not again, and that's why now Kyle is going to have to innovate again. Like, you have to reinvent yourself. I say Andy Reid, 67 years old, continues to reinvent himself year after year, game after game, and Kyle has done that as well, and he'll have to do it again to reinvent himself.